My name is.
My name is Mordechai Roth, sometimes called Morty Roth, sometimes called other things, but we'll leave it at just Mordechai and Morty. I was married in 1975, May of 1975. And soon after the wedding, perhaps within the first 2 months or so, we realized that my wife was pregnant. So we looked around for an obstetrician, and we were referred to a gentleman named Dr. Albert Tanz, T-A-N-Z. His office was on 5th Avenue and 69th Street, opposite the park. And his clientele consisted in large measure of people who were either the wives of politicians or actors and actresses and so forth. And we got an appointment with him through a friend of my wife. Our first appointment, he took a lot of information, asked a lot of different questions. And then he asked one question where he looked at my wife and he said, "What was the last time that you saw your doctor, your family doctor, before your pregnancy?" And she answered the question. She said that I would estimate that before the pregnancy was about 2 to 3 months. Anything unusual happened at that appointment? And she said, "No, but I did receive a shot." And he said, "What shot was that?" She said, rubella shot. So, as I was saying to Rick, he was using a fancy fountain pen to take the notes. Still remember it. And he took it and he put it back together and he screwed back the top on it and he put it back on the paper where he was taking the notes. And then he looked not at my wife, but he looked at me. And he said, "I have to tell you, Mr. Roth, if this was my wife, I would abort."
What?
I would abort. This was just too close, he said, between the time that she conceived and the time that she took that rubella shot. It's too great a risk for what will happen with this child. He says to us, we're silent, we don't know how to react to this. He says, "I'll abide by whatever you decide, but my advice is to abort. And please get back to me and then we'll proceed from there." So when we got home, we didn't say a word to each other. We just walked to the subway, because I worked in Manhattan. We met at the office. We lived in Brooklyn, in Borough Park. And I decided that we're not going to tell either of our parents, but rather we're going to seek advice first from an Odin Gadol, and then we'll see about where to go with it. And I called a gentleman by the name of Ber Gerlitsky, who is a gentleman who was one of the Chayzrim, who was one of the people who used to sit after...
Avram.
Yeah, so we were friends at that time. We knew him for quite a while.
Montreal?
No, here in Crown Heights. I lived in Crown Heights for 10 years.
Where?
And on Eastern Parkway, between Troy and Schenectady. Opposite the Yeshiva of Eastern Parkway. A block away from the library, near the Young Israel, right over there.
Still there.
Yeah, all of that's still there, right? So, in any case, I called him, and I told him what the matzav was, and I knew that he has some connection. I said, "Is it possible, if not to get into the Rebbe, at least to give the Rebbe a michtav, to ask about this?" He said, "Absolutely. We'll speak again tomorrow, and I'll let you know how we do this." So he called me the next time and said that the Rebbe said that you should write every detail that you can remember down on the paper from the moment of that appointment with the doctor, the family doctor, through the conception, what you believe was the conception, and write every detail, every detail. Okay. So we wrote all the pratim that I could remember, and he said, "Okay, bring that over to me." We spoke the next night, bring it over to me, which I did. And he called me 3 days later, and he said, "Here's what the Rebbe says. The Rebbe says that you are to do nothing, certainly not an abortion, and that this child will be born, b'shor tov v'tzlachas, and the child will give you great nachas." 9 months later, a little more than 9 months later, the child was born. Her name is Rivka Chava. She is our oldest daughter. She lives in Memphis. She's married to a doctor. She has 5 children. All of them are the Shem of the Pharaohs. Wonderful children. That's the story.
What year was this?
1976. She was born in March of 1976. Adar. Yeah.
Thank you.